Rallyman GT has 1 to 6 players racing to cross the finish line. Build a track using a layout at the back of the rulebook, your imagination, or an online guide such as those posted on BoardGameGeek. The damage tokens go inside the draw bag, and the focus tokens go within everyone's reach. Players take a set of gear markers, tire dashboards, driver card, and car. Choose a starting tire, and for your first game, start on the sunny side. Determine starting player by randomly drawing the 0 gear tokens. Place the cars on the starting grid, with the lead drivers in the inside lane. Place the 0 gear markers next to their matching car to show that the cars are currently stopped. Use the white or black side depending on what round you're in. Turn order is determined by a simple speed, distance, and position system. The car in the highest gear goes first. If tied, the car furthest ahead goes first. If still tied, the car on the inside lane goes first. Clever players could be in the middle of the pack, or worse, but zip around everyone else to block them if they activate first. The available dice depends on your dashboard. If the weather switches, flip over the dashboard card. Pitting can also remove damage. I'll explain all this soon. For now, let's look at how movement works. You'll plan out your turn by increasing or dropping gears with the black dice or braking with reds. The white dice allow you to coast or stay the same speed. In this example, the player is accelerating, then late braking into the corner. Some corners have a number. You cannot exceed this number or you'll lose control. You cannot move sideways, only forwards. You also cannot skip a gear unless braking. For example, play a black 4, white to coast, then a red brake die plus a black 2 to show you've dropped 2 gears down. If you choose to go flat out, place your 2 gear token next to your car, then roll all the dice. Collect focus tokens equal to the number of black and white dice rolled. If you choose to roll 1 space at a time, it's less risky and you can change your mind as you go, but you don't gain focus tokens. I'll explain these soon. For now, know that you'll move forward for successes. If you roll equal to or more hazard symbols than the number in the top right of your dashboard, you lose control. Arrange your dice in hopes to minimize the damage. If you're going slow enough and or are in a safe tile, you might just spin around and end your turn. Place the 0 gear next to your car and reverse the car so it's facing backward. On your next turn, you'll spin around, then be able to start racing again. If you went off the track, place the 0 gear next to your car. On your next turn, place the car backward on the track and place the 0 gear next to your car. On the turn after that, you can spin around and start racing again. This sounds really bad, and it is, but depending on how things go, you aren't necessarily out of the race. When you take damage, which depends on the tile you are on and the speed you are going, draw from the bag. Some tokens cause damage, meaning you'll lose access to dice until you pit and repair your car. Some change the weather, yellow flags limit overtaking, and green flags mean you're all clear. When your turn's over, the next player goes. Once everyone is gone, flip the round token. Continue until someone passes the checkered flag. There are rules about sharp and dangerous corners, variants, and so on, but this gives you a general idea of gameplay. There's one last thing. Focus tokens are used to guarantee a die's success. You may use as many as you wish on your turn as long as you can pay the cost. The first die costs 1, the next costs 2, and so on. You'll probably want to use them when braking or if you're close to losing control. Plan your turn, roll dice all at once or one at a time, and use the track and focus tokens wisely to win. That's Rallyman GT. Rallyman GT has small player areas, but you need space to roll a handful of dice, and the bits take up some space. The big issue will be the tracks. You could make small custom tracks on a coffee table for a small player count, but dining tables work better for this one. There's very little reading and math, but the strategic gameplay means kids probably won't be competitive, and therefore enjoy themselves, unless they're 9 and up. Time depends on the track and number of laps, but our average games, including setup and takedown, which isn't quick, is 75 to 90 minutes. In our fourth game of Rallyman GT, I quickly gained the lead, but Mom and Dad weren't too far behind. I sped ahead, but Mom caught up. We blocked Dad and the bots and left them in our dust. Or so it seemed. Dad zipped through the crowd after a few big and risky turns. The green bot crashed, and Dad blocked me for a turn. When Greenbot came back out, we were packed in a tight corner, so it managed to get back into the action until it crashed again. Dad was in position to win, but I took a chance and blew through a danger zone in hopes of gaining the inside lane. It worked, and I won. Rallyman GT's cars and cards are fine, but it's the tiles that are the stars. Nice and thick and cut well so that they fit together nicely. The art is excellent and thematic and really pulls you in. There are more than 30 double-sided hexagon track tiles in the base game. The rulebook shows you how to make 8 tracks, and you can easily design your own. People on BoardGameGeek have posted custom and real tracks. Dad found a file that has nearly 80 real track layouts. The speed, distance, position system is brilliant and keeps players at the back of the pack involved, and it adds strategy, especially once you factor in the corners, especially the dangerous ones. You might want to put yourself in a position where players can't pass you unless they risk spinning out, or maybe just force them to take a longer and/or a more dangerous route. There's blocking and rooting for your opponents to fail dice rolls. In other words, it can be nasty. Of course you can play gentler, but why? It's racing. There can only be one winner. We recently played a completely different game, Marvel Champions, where 90-minute games dragged. Here, you'll barely notice time passing because you're so involved and the turn order is variable. Honestly, depending on how short you make your tracks, you might be able to squeeze in a few on a weeknight. You can also decide to make epic courses that use every tile or go multiple laps, yeah. One of the most impressive things about this game is how much thinking you'll be doing between those dice rolls and with such a simple set of rules. It's only a bit more complex than Flamme Rouge, a family weight racing game I really like. I'll link to it at the end of this video. Race Formula 90 is one of my all-time favorites, and I recently reviewed and highly recommended Flamme Rouge. Rallyman GT's gameplay is a mix of the two. It definitely leans more tactical, and it's fairly accessible like Flamme Rouge. Strategy and pushing your luck are the keys to winning though, like in Race Formula 90. In other words, this is fantastic. If you enjoy light programming, tactical gameplay with a bit of strategy, and pushing your luck, you absolutely need to check this out. Even if you don't enjoy racing, the thrill of the rules, clever dice manipulation, and route planning might appeal to you.